Welcome back. Today we're tackling a big one, a real heavyweight that keeps millions feeling utterly trapped. Anger. We're not just dipping our toes into the psychological theory, we're diving headfirst into the spiritual forensics of it all. Joining us today, representing the Watchman perspective forged in the trenches of addiction and trauma triage from Saved by Grace 337 is Miles. Miles, let's get right to it. Why does anger feel like the one emotion that's just impossible to control?
It feels impossible because most people think they're driving the anger bus. They're not. They're getting hijacked. When someone says, "I just saw red, I don't even know what happened," they're telling you the absolute truth. They surrendered the wheel and a demonic spirit took over the vehicle. Think about it. Your body and mind are a high-performance vehicle. God gave you the keys for a beautiful, purposed cruise down the highway, right? To fulfill a divine blueprint. But Satan, the thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy, doesn't want you on that road. He wants to blow your engine up in the garage before you even pull out of the driveway.
Blow the engine in the garage? How does anger do that, mechanically speaking?
It's like sitting in your car, throwing it into first gear, and then just stomping the gas pedal to the floor without ever letting out the clutch. You're redlining. The RPMs are screaming, the engine's roaring, you're not moving an inch forward, but you're smoking the tires, burning the clutch, and melting the pistons. Scientifically, your brain shifts into this mode called the default mode network. Cortisol floods your system, blood pressure spikes, your body physically breaks down under all that wear and tear. You're literally destroying the perfectly good vehicle God gave you.
But if it's so physically destructive, Miles, why do we keep hitting the gas? Why do we feel this desperate need for that release?
The dopamine hijack. This is the big rock we have to turn over. People are trapped right here. They think dopamine is just the happy chemical. It's not. It's a reward mechanism. When your ego gets offended and you lash out in a fit of rage, your brain actually unleashes a massive surge of dopamine because for a split second, you feel justified or powerful. The enemy, the grand manipulator, literally uses your body's own chemical reward system to hook you on your own destruction. You don't just have an anger problem, you have a full-blown dopamine addiction orchestrated by a demonic squatter.
A demonic squatter. So the ego is screaming for that dopamine hit then? But people defend their ego as human nature. Where does that fit into this high-octane demolition derby?
Ego isn't human nature, it's an alien frequency. Look at the original blueprint in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve didn't have ego. They had total communion with the Creator. Ego wasn't installed until the serpent introduced it. It's a demonic trap designed to make you automatically respond in a destructive way. When your ego gets offended and that violent rage hits your chest, that's the serpent software running in your hardware, feeding you a counterfeit dopamine rush to keep you enslaved.
So anger isn't just an emotion, it's an open door to, well, more trouble.
It's a portal, Theodore. If you don't give it to God, you leave your house empty. The Bible warns us about this. You sweep the house clean, but if the Holy Spirit isn't occupying it, that spirit comes back with 7 more wicked than itself. Now, let's look at the forensics of the overlap. When you redline that anger every single day, you fry your dopamine receptors. That baseline rage isn't giving you the same hit anymore. So what does the enemy do? He shifts the addiction. Anger turns into bitterness. Bitterness turns into isolation. You isolate yourself, and suddenly you need a new way to numb the heat of the engine or chase that chemical spike. You turn to substances. When the substances stop working, you turn to lust. Lust sears the conscience entirely. That demonic progression is exactly what leads to physical violence, sexual violence, and murder. People don't just wake up and commit atrocities. They allow a demonic force to coexist with them, redlining the engine day after day, chasing the hijack until it completely takes over the vessel.
If it's a demonic overlap rooted in a chemical hijack, how do people break the chain? People sit in therapy for years and never get free.
Because you can't out-talk a demon, and you can't medicate a spiritual squatter. There's only one person who can break those chains, and that's the God who created the universe and wired your nervous system. You have to take accountability for opening the door, stop playing the victim, and hand over the keys. Look at the ultimate example, Jesus Christ. He was perfect, falsely accused, beaten, murdered for absolutely no reason. He had the cosmic authority to call down fire and obliterate the planet in righteous rage. He had every reason to blow the engine, but he didn't. He took it, surrendered to the Father's will, and coasted in total obedience.
What does that surrender look like for the person listening right now, Miles, who feels that heat in their chest, completely out of control?
It's raw, and it requires getting over yourself entirely. When you get mad, tell God you're mad. Say, this situation is garbage. I hate this. I feel like I'm being bullied, and I am furious, but I refuse to let the serpent drive this car. You take this emotion. I don't want it. You deal with it. Then you walk away. If you have to go sit in the corner and shut your mouth so you don't do damage, you do it. You don't force fake worship. You just sit in silent surrender.
And what happens to that dopamine loop when someone does that consistently?
You develop spirit muscle memory. When you pick up your cross daily and refuse to redline that engine, God rewires your instincts. He heals those fried dopamine receptors. That intense, demonic anger gets evicted and replaced with the fruits of the Spirit. Anger turns into discernment. Rage turns into wisdom. You stop reacting like a victim, chasing a cheap chemical hit, and you start operating with the profound knowledge that God provides. You aren't broken, Theodore. You're just fighting a spiritual war with the wrong weapons. Give the keys back to the manufacturer, let him rebuild the engine, and get out of the garage.
Miles, that's powerful. Thank you for walking us through the mechanics and the spiritual battle of anger, as outlined by Saved by Grace 337. If this conversation resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it.